my brethren, be strong in the Most High, and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yah, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand and withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High Yah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1,
0. Shabbat Shalom, family of the Most High Yah, and welcome to another Sword of the Spirit audio biblical teaching broadcast. And we are your hosts, the servants of Yah. We'd like to once again greet all of our listeners who have made the decision to fellowship with us on today. I'm going to bring in my co-host, Prina. Shabbat Shalom, sis.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, so today, happy about the Sabbath being here. Had a very busy week. Very tiring week, but at the same time, we're both educators. This week was National Teacher Appreciation Week. So we had a chance to be finally honored because so often our jobs are a very thankless job. So
yes.
It was nice to be treated well this week. What were some of the things that your administrator did for you and your staff?
They gave us a day of lunch, so they fed us lunch, and then one day they gave us a breakfast, and then they also gave us some nice lanyards that said that teaching was priceless. So, I mean, it was pretty good. You know, they didn't spend very much, but they still took the time out to acknowledge us. So that was great in itself.
Yeah, we had a pretty good week. The teachers, they had abundance of food throughout their entire week, feeding us breakfast and treating us to lunch. Had lunch catered in. They even had a professional masseuse come in personally, so the teachers were able to get massages on their breaks or their preps. What else? Oh, they gave us, they had some different trinkets that they were giving out. And we also got a chance to leave early on an hour early on yesterday, which was good because my school gets out at 2:40. So at 1:50 I was on my way home. So
okay, that was cool.
That was great. And even our Wednesday meetings that we normally have, he cut that short. So this was a pretty good week. Yeah. Okay. So. But once again, we want to say Shabbat Shalom to all of our listeners and welcome you. We're going to get right into today's show because the topic we have today is very thorough, so I want to make sure that I stay within the time constraints. But for today's mini lesson, we're going to be discussing drug sorcery, what it entails, who taught us this wicked act, as well as how the use and misuse of what people call legalized prescription drugs. We're going to talk about the part that plays in possible demon possession and how once you are possessed, that this relinquishes your ability to be able to remain sober and stay in control of your emotions, which is basically your state of being. I put up a post the other day about being entertained. And people don't understand that entertainment that they're doing. To enter means to come in and to possess. To tame is meaning to take a hold of. And the ment part of entertainment means your state of being and your state of consciousness. So what we call entertainment, there's various forms of entertainment, and you have to be very careful what it is you want to come in or enter in to possess and take hold of your consciousness or your state of being. So today, we're going to be talking about drug sorcery. And for the State of the Body panel discussion, we're going to be answering the question. Prina found an article, and it basically, we're going to be answering the question, what's slavery and internship? This article that we're going to be discussing attempts to rewrite history, making claims that slavery was voluntary and that we weren't brought over here against our will, that we willingly wanted to do this. So we're going to, use scripture. We're going to discuss and use scripture to basically dispel that myth, because it's just that. Today we do not have a special guest speaker. We're going to, because this topic we're going to be talking about is very intense. And it's a topic that many people are sitting on the fence, even those who are believers sitting on the fence of this. And I've been looking at a lot of our Hebrew Israelite brethren who believe that it's okay to smoke marijuana because it's of the earth and it's natural. So we're going to kill all of that today. So, Prina, today's question we're going to be answering is, what's slavery and internship? I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton over to you and have you basically read this article and to our listening audience and read to us what it's stating, and then we can discuss it afterwards.
Okay. So this article actually came from my daughter. She just was bringing me some insight on it, and Autumn. And it says, it's titled, Texas Board of Education Revises Textbooks. Slaves Were Unpaid Interns. And so this was by Chris Partridge, and it was done in September of 2012. But also it stated, Texas Board of Education has drawn scrutiny in recent years for its efforts to revise its curriculum to favor more conservative-friendly version of history and science. After revising textbooks last year to emphasize Christian influence on the founding fathers and introduce intelligent design to biology classes, the board voted 9-0 today to change official nomenclature regarding slavery. In Texas, okay, so nomenclature is just basically the terminology of slavery. In Texas, students...
So they're trying to be slick with it. Instead of calling it slavery, they want to give it a name that most people won't take the time to even look up. So we let you know that is slavery, okay?
Right. In Texas, it also stated that students will now be taught that that slaves were not kidnapped and exploited against their will, but actually were unpaid interns, while African workers were not compensated monetarily. The new curriculum guidelines acknowledge by working outside picking cotton, they gain valuable career experiences.
You know what?
And were provided ample networking opportunities.
Wow.
To read. Okay.
I know, I'm keep interrupting you. It's hard for me to even let you
I know, it's just getting on my... Charlie Shutter, a 3-term board member from Dallas, introduced the notion. For Credulous Schroeder, the idea that the founding fathers were involved in a system of owning fellow humans simply were too much to believe. So owning slaves was just too much for them to believe. If he stated that either the founding fathers were divinely inspired statements or they endorsed slavery. That's pretty much glaring contradictory. Obviously slavery didn't exist. Sure, these plantation interns had it hard than modern college
plantation interns.
Yes. They had it harder than today's modern college students, Board of Education member Alan Wixom told Newslo. They didn't have coffee breaks, They couldn't goof off around on Facebook. They were frequently beaten within an inch of sweet, merciful death. But they made lifelong connections and built some strong resumes in the process.
Oh, wow. Resumes?
Yes, not to mention the acclaimed music they were encouraged to write.
Really? They were encouraged to write?
Yes.
Okay. Now, that's a whole totally different version of what because they couldn't even read or write. They were beat if they got caught. This is crazy.
Yes. It says Schroeder's motion reportedly included several primary sources document provided by revisionist historian David Barton, which lent credibility to the board's interpretation of slavery. One of the documents, a diary entry supposedly written by a slave in Virginia, proudly describes the glowing letter of recommendation he was given by the man with the bullwhip.
Wow.
So, yeah, they taking a slave. I mean, of course, a slave is not going to write that, anything that's going to cause him to bring death on him. Are you kidding me? It's crazy. So he said that they got this letter from a slave. The man, he said that proudly describes the glowing letter of recommendation he was given by the man with a bullwhip. But
a glowing recommendation.
Yes. So he basically, said that his slave master was, probably treating him well, and, he was.
Slave master gave him a
I'm sorry, I misinterpreted. Slave master gave him a good recommendation by the man with a bullwhip. Okay, by the board, critics were vocal in their opposition to changes. So one person said, "Look at this garbage," said educational activist Harvey Norella, reading from the new curriculum. History textbooks should mention that the international slave trade was merely an early precursor to a modern study abroad program.
You know what? Modern study program abroad.
Study abroad
really?
Program. Our
studying abroad program. So that's the Most High. He is the one. First of all, okay, it was hard for me to.
Yeah, so the international
this is stuff. We were studying abroad, all right.
Yes.
Because Deuteronomy 28, verse 64, it says that Yah shall scatter you among all people from one end of the earth even to the other. And you shall serve other gods there, the gods of wood and stone, which is Christianity and Muslim. Those are the two religions that most people are a part of. He says, which you have not known nor your forefathers. And he says, and among these nations you shall find no ease, nor the sole of your foot have rest. But Yah shall give you there a trembling heart and a failing of eyes and a sorrow of mind. And your life shall be in doubt before you, and you shall fear day and night, and you shall have no assurance of your life. So he told us in verse 68, continuing on in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, he says that Yah shall bring you into Egypt again with ships. When he's talking about Egypt, he's talking about bondage or slavery, because our people were at one time in bondage and slavery in Egypt. So he says, I'm going to bring you into Egypt again, meaning into slavery again, but this time I'm going to do it by way of ships. He says, and you shall never see it again, meaning you're never going to go back to the land again, and you shall be sold to your enemies. You shall be sold to your enemies. I'm going to say it again. You shall be sold to your enemies there for male slaves and girl slaves, and there should be no buyer, meaning no one is going to save you. So how is it that, and you said it was 9-0? So how can a board vote to teach falsehood? How can you vote to teach? You're supposed to be teaching. That's like voting to teach that 2 + 2 is 6 when it's always been 4.
Yeah.
You know, they said that, you know, they can't believe that their forefathers would do this. So to ease their consciousness of what their wicked forefathers did, you're going to change slavery and rewrite history and then say that this didn't happen or we were taken abroad on a program?
Yes. Yes, and not only that, not only study abroad, but, you know, it also go on to say this is the law now. And added,
the law.
It's the law now, and added gnarly. I hate this state. Whether liberal or conservative, political experts agree that the implication of the decisions are monumental. Texas state senators are already considering legislation that would award slaves retroactive college credit in lieu of reparations.
Wow.
So they were going to give you college credit for this class. Crazy. Just read
this. I would like to do a little bit more research into this and see if this is actually the truth, because I would actually like to call the college board them myself. I would like to. This is for a high school, or you said this is for a college?
It's saying that it didn't give in context like where they're actually.
I mean, is it the state of? It's for the state of Texas, the Board of Education.
It says the Texas Board of Education revises textbooks.
Okay, so that's why then I'm gonna have to call the state of Texas. I would like to find out more about this. I would like us to do a little bit more into this, because how can you rewrite what history is? What are you teaching your children? What are you teaching the schools? You can't, and see, you will never hear the truth of what will happen, who we are, unless the Most High reveals it to you himself.
Yes.
And you got to unplug yourself from the matrix.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we have to remember that, you know, in scriptures, regardless if this is appalling to read or shocking or makes you angry, we just still need to remember that in scriptures, the children of Israel were prophesied to for losing their knowledge of who they were, their heritage. You know, his word also stated that Israel enemies will conspire to make them forget their identity. That's why they took crafty counsel, and they're still doing it. This is merely due because we were punished for our disobedience for, you know, not obeying the covenant of the Most High, you know, and that's stated in Genesis 15, you know, 13 and 13, you know, that, 13 through 14, that, you know, I said that he was going to afflict us for 400 years, and we was going to go to a strange land, and we're going to serve them, you know.
For 400 years.
Yeah, in Isaiah 1, 2, and 3, you know, Yah said that, hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Yah have spoken. I have nourished and brought you up, children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox know his owner, and the ass know the ass his crib, as according to King James. But I mean, one of the I forgot where I got this. But Israel do not know, my people do not consider. And in
they don't know who they are. They ain't even thinking about who they are. They don't even care. Even when you tell them, they still come. I'm the Gentile.
Yes, and in Jeremiah 17:4, you know, it goes on to continue that, you know, that Yah will discontinue our heritage. He will cause us to serve our enemies, you know, for his anger has kindled against us. You know, so we have to remember that we are still under the curses, and we are still, you know, our disobedience has brought on the wrath of Yah. Therefore, our punishment from Yah is causing us, Israel, to lose our knowledge of who we were, to lose our knowledge of our nationality, our history, and our heritage. You know, basically, it's as if the true people of Israel doesn't exist. You know, according to how they are trying to race everything against us, from that's hiding it from us, you know, with pen and paper. You know, they doing it right now.
Well, they don't see us as the chosen people. No. They see us as, they know that slavery happened, but we're not considered. No one is discounting that. They could try to change it to make the history of what their people did and put it in a better light. But they know, and everyone knows, that slavery existed. We all know that slavery existed.
Yes.
Okay. That's you can't change that, no matter what you want to do with your board of education. But they do not recognize us as the chosen people.
No.
They think that people recognize as the so-called Jews today, that they're the chosen people, but they're not. We know that they're the Khazars. Okay, they're the imposters, pretending to be us, as Yeshua said would be in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, pretending that they're us. So they have no problem recognizing that slavery happened, but the fact is this is the biggest surprise to the world, that we're the chosen people. And when this all really comes out, even our own people will be surprised. Okay? They have a problem with accepting the fact that we meant something to the Most High. That we were precious to the Creator before we were brought over here. And he said they will all kiss our feet and know that he has always loved us. He's always loved us. And so right now, we're seeing an increase in the killings of our brethren and the things that have been going on. I'm glad that, these police officers are going to be in Maryland are going to be charged. We'll see if they'll be actually convicted, though. Okay, we know they can be charged, but that doesn't mean they're going to be convicted. I don't look for justice in this land anymore.
No,
because he didn't bring us over here for justice. So we need to stop expecting it. You're not going to get, if it happens, if it's the Most High's will, he shows mercy, then so be it. But he didn't send us over here to receive equality and justice. We were sent over here to be spanked. Because we refuse to walk in his ways, and we're doing even more now than our forefathers did. So if you have anything else to add, you can go ahead, and then I'm going to go ahead.
I just want to say that it's time for parents to go back and train up their children. It is a duty and a command that is required by the Most High. We are responsible for teaching our children the word of Yah, and everything that has happened to us, that even though textbooks are trying to cover up and hide, it is stated in the word, and we are responsible for teaching them. And, we need to stop depending on the school system to teach our children. Their main purpose is to keep us blind and our history hidden from us. They are part of Satan's wicked system, and we see that in the article that we just shared with you today. And science and history, all it's doing is discrediting and mocking Yah's creation. And until we see that, and until we return back to the covenant, we are going to continue to live in a Willie Lynch syndrome. That's perpetuated, on our mindset. We need to study the word, so our self-approved, so that we can teach our children, and our children's children can teach their children, so that we can,
walk in the ways of the Most High.
Restoring our heritage and our blessings as promised to us in Deuteronomy 28. And not only that, we are also paving the way for generations to come
after us.
And so, we need to stop throwing our pearls that the Most High has given us, and promised us. To swine, he has promised us to be kingdoms of priests, ruling with Yeshua and eternal life in the kingdom of Yah, and also other abundance of blessings. We doing just like Esau, just throwing our precious pearl. Well, he didn't have inheritance anyway, but we're acting like Esau, throwing our precious jewels away.
Giving it away.
Just freely, we like a buffet. We pick and choose what we want to do and how we're going to serve Yah. We like to sound intelligent. Have the knowledge, because some of our people are waking up, but they love the knowledge, and they like.
They worried about the dress and the outward appearance, and how long your dreads are, and how tight you got your head wrap up, and how wrapped up tight you are, and they want to be into the natural hair. It's all good. All of that is good. But if you're not walking right before the Most High, it doesn't matter if you got natural hair. Doesn't matter if your head is covered. Doesn't matter how tight, like a mummy, you wrapped up. It doesn't matter how long your tassel is dragging.
Yes.
You're going to be dragging all of that to the lake with you.
Yeah.
Because it's about your walk.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Just keep they just pick and choose and not necessarily keeping the word of Yah wholeheartedly, and they use it as like a buffet, a line of dinner. You select the word of Yah and what you picking and choosing what please your soul, and we need to stop that. We need to return back to the covenant. We still got 4 years left to get it right. Because are we still under the curses? Our 400 years ain't up yet, and so the punishments that we're seeing, people think that marching and and looting and rioting is gonna change this whole system because we banding together. No, the only thing that's gonna band us together is returning to the covenant and walking it out as the Most High says, and that's when our blessings will come. I'm not saying we're not gonna still be punished because He said we will, but we will see our blessings and we will see the restoration of Israel. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, and going to go ahead and get started with today's show. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, if you're just not joining us, we just finished up with our State of the Body panel discussion. We were discussing an article coming from the state of Texas Board of Education, where they're going to rewrite curriculum in their history in regards to slavery, just basically stating that it didn't happen, and that we came over here to this land on an internship studying abroad. So it's crazy. So if you just now joining us after this show is recorded, you can go back and listen to the beginning. This is our 14th show, Praise Yah. And so let's get right into today's show. Just a quick recap of last week. Last week was a quick show because I was on vacation, but we discussed the power of music, good and bad. And not only its influence on our youth, but as well as on adults as well. Last week I did not teach. We played an audio lesson entitled The Purpose of Music. And it basically revealed the real purpose of music and how music, whether it's of the Most High or not, have spirits on them. And thus, as believers, we have to be careful the type of music that we listen to. So if you missed last week's show, that's for the Spirit audio broadcast number 13. Okay, for today's mini lesson, today's show is entitled Drug Sorcery, Marijuana, Pharmakeia, and Drunkenness. Most folks are casual about drug use because we have been sold on the idea that quote-unquote legalized drugs such as marijuana, that they're good for us and they're harmless. But we know that this is not true. And so today we're going to be analyzing this very touchy topic. Many are sitting on the fence with this, and hopefully after today they will not be sitting on the fence. And this is a topic that may be difficult for many to accept, but the truth is the truth. And today you're going to learn the truth about this. We're going to give you the bottom line about drug use, which also includes vaccinations, a flu shot, smoking marijuana, and drunkenness. We're going to reveal what drug sorcery is as it relates to witchcraft. We're going to reveal who taught us these wicked acts. And we're going to talk about the effects of being intoxicated, whether it be from drug use, marijuana, prescription drug use, or prescription drug abuse, and drunkenness. So I'm going to start with an introduction scripture. I was led to start with Ezekiel 11:12, which reads, "And you shall know that I am Yah, for you have not walked in my statutes, neither executed my judgments, but have done after the manner of the heathen nations that are round about you. And the Testament of Judah, which is in the Apocrypha, chapter 23, 1 and 2 reads, "Now I have much grief, my children, because of your lewdness and witchcraft and idolatries, which you shall practice against the kingdom, following them that have familiar spirits, diviners," which is divination, and demons of error. So these two precepts is basically leading me into what we're going to be talking about today as far as drug sorcery. These two scriptures, the Most High is telling his chosen people, the sons of Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel, that you have not walked in my statutes nor executed my judgment. And he's saying you have been lewd. You've been practicing witchcraft, idolatry, and you have been doing after the manner of those heathen nations that are around about you, where I told you to learn not the way of the heathens. He says you're following after them. And not only that, the Most High says you're following familiar spirits. You're practicing divination, which is receiving revelation from any spirit that is not of the Most High set apart spirit. And you're following demons of error. So the question that I have for you all today is, how many of you watch the television commercials that come on today? And how many of you notice that they're pushing drugs of every kind? And in fact, they're pushing these so-called prescription drugs like never before. They're pushing it like there is no tomorrow. And they're even making laws, and they've even passed recent laws, and I think it was as early as 2013, legalizing drugs such as marijuana for so-called healing. So why is this happening? Many of you might be thinking. They're doing this, and they're pushing the use of these drugs, marijuana, prescription drugs, vaccinations. You see this on every corner. Every time you go to Walgreens, Walmart, they're coming to your jobs now, where you can have a free flu shot. You can they're pushing these vaccinations more than ever. I think once they had it on the table where now your child won't be able to go to school if you don't get vaccinated. I knew a couple people who had to get vaccinated for flu shots, stating that they work in the medical field, they wouldn't be able to keep their jobs. Every time you turn on the television, there's a commercial for this drug, that drug, this drug. They're pushing this, like I said, like there's no tomorrow. And then they're even pushing being drunk in the music and the television. And this is because Satan's time is short. His time is almost up on this earth. And it really, to be quite honest, there aren't really that many tomorrows remaining. 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 7 warns us that we are in the last days, and the times that we're living in are perilous times. These are perilous times that we're living in, folks. These are the last days. And so now we see Satan and these fallen spirits doing everything that they can to so-called medicate the masses, which in reality is really seducing you and to drug you, painkillers, alcohol abuse, because they need you to be under their mind control to be able to pull off Satan's plans. We see so many celebrities and entertainers and musicians who get hooked on drugs, who get hooked on painkillers, what we like to call so-called prescription painkillers, and they're committing suicide. Why are they committing suicide? They're on prescription painkillers. They're on drugs. They're killing themselves. Why are they killing themselves? These are supposedly people who have it all together. They're rich. They living in these mansions. They can buy anything they want. They can go any place they want to go in the world. They can wear whatever they want to wear. No problems, right? So why do we see so many of these rich celebrities killing themselves, ending it all, when they so-called have it all together? See, Satan puts up these smoke mirrors and make you believe that things are one way, but he doesn't really tell you, as well as these celebrities don't really show you what you got to do to get all of this money. See, the things that they have to do to maintain that lifestyle, they find out in the end it's not worth, because most of them have to sell their souls in order to continue on with that. You know, Satan, again, wants you under his mind control. And because the only way that he can do it, especially with those that he knows that are sincere, but they're ignorant and they're deceived, he knows they're not going to willingly submit to him without first being deceived. So, in essence, even though he is deceiving, as Revelation 12:9 said that he would do, and deceiving the whole world, many are going to be going to the lake of fire because they choose to believe and they choose to love the lies that are being preached to them, because they refuse to study to show themselves approved. And in essence, it requires no change on their part, because after all, Yah knows your heart, right? But he says for the true elect, it's impossible for them to be deceived, because these are those who have his laws written on their hearts and their mind. He says he already knows who they are. They have the spirit of truth already written on their hearts and minds. And there are those who have the spirit of error that's already on there, and it's going to be there because they want it to be there. Because when the truth is revealed to them and they know that it's true, they continue in lies and falsehood because it's easy, because it, quote unquote, feels good. Notice how even when my son is not feeling well, you know, have you noticed how a lot of the things that are good for you don't taste all that well? Like, I've been drinking coconut water. I gave some to my mom. I gave some to my son, and they're like, wow, look, this is disgusting. Cod liver oil, things that are really good for you taste really bad. But it seems like those things that are really bad for you, like all this sugar and all these additives and things they want to put, they do all of this to cover up the long-term effects. And this is what happens when people are taking drugs. It may temporarily, or an alcohol, it may temporarily make you feel good, but the long-term effects, it even says it's on medication, that the long-term effects of taking this medication could cause liver damage, could cause kidney damage, could cause you, one medicine said could cause you to be at the casino and want to commit suicide. Now, I don't know what kind of concoction that they have put together. That's not drug sorcery. I don't know what is that makes you want to be at the casino and make you want to commit suicide. We're going to learn some very important things in Scripture today, and I'm hoping that I can change the hearts and minds of those listeners and those who think that it's okay to smoke marijuana, that it's okay to misuse drugs. Now, I'm not saying that there may not be times if you have infections that you may have to use antibiotics. But I am very careful. I'm not every time I got a headache, oh, let me just pop some aspirin. Oh, let me pop some Tylenol. Every time I got some, oh, let me pop. We have to stop doing this, because you're going to see today that the misuse and overuse of drugs, even prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs, can leave you open as a portal for demonic possession. We got to use it in moderation. And every time I went to the doctor and they prescribed something, didn't mean I was going to take it. Because the best thing to try to do is to use natural things that can yield the same results. So leading us into that, I'm going to be going into Genesis chapter 1 today. And we're going to be talking about the plant, because people say, oh, wow, we can smoke marijuana and the herbs, you know, because it's natural. It's from the hemp plant, and he made plants for healing, and, you know, he made it so it's natural, so we can smoke it. Okay. We're getting ready to find out what was the true purpose for these things. So Genesis chapter 1, I'm going to begin at verse 11. I'm going to be skipping around a lot. Genesis 1:11 says, and Yah said, let the earth bring forth grass and herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. Verse 12, and the earth brought forth grass and herbs yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind, and Yah saw that it was good. Genesis 1, verse 29 and 30. And Yah said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. Meat is food. So he says, I've given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree, which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. He says, and to you it shall be meat, meaning it shall be food for you. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life. He says, I have given every green herb for meat, for food. And it was so. So the Most High initially, not intentionally, but the Most High, well, he did intentionally do it, but he initially commanded the earth to bring forth grass and herbs yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit. And the key word here, he kept saying after each one, after his kind, whose seed is in itself after his kind. That means that an apple tree should bring forth apples, not pears and vice versa. This is how the Most High purposed it to be from the beginning. He's against mixing. He didn't want you mixing seeds and apples and grapes to come up with grapples. He said that it should be after its own kind. So this is how it was purposed. He said he created the trees and the plants and the herbs bearing seeds. He created them to be edible, meaning for meat, meaning to be for food, for our nourishment, and for the health or for the healing, not for us to smoke and get high. Nobody in the scriptures, from Genesis to Revelation, was to use the trees to smoke and get high. Paul was not smoking the plants to get high. Moses was not smoking the plants to get high, and neither was Noah or anyone else. He said that these shall be to you for food. Some says meat, some other translation says for food, but it's for food. Nowhere did he says to smoke this for recreation. And even if you're using people, because something has been legalized, does not make it legal in the Torah. They've legalized abortion. That's murder. This past 2-3 years, they have legalized more things that the Most High has said is lawlessness, which is sin, that I have seen since I've been on the earth. The Most High created things with a purpose, and he does not want us altering his creation. And when you misuse his creation, then that's when you're dealing with sorcery, which he says is witchcraft. And with that being said, certain knowledge of things were not purposed for us to know. And when Adam and Eve ate from the forbidden tree of knowledge of good and evil, that's when they knew evil. But not only did they knew evil, or they knew what evil was, but they knew how to commit evil acts. Again, after the fall of mankind in the garden, the ground became cursed. And nothing has ever grown or been the same ever since then. The ground became cursed. After the fall of mankind, the ground was cursed. If anything is cursed, just as the children of Israel, the sons of Jacob, became cursed, we are not the same people that we were before we were cursed and brought over here. We are not the same people. He says that we were never going to return it. We have never seen it again, just as he stated in Deuteronomy 28:68. We have never been the same since then. We are on the bottom, just as he said we were going to be. We have not been on top since then. When something becomes cursed, it changes the nature of that thing. So the ground became cursed. So those who say that it's okay to smoke marijuana, which they say come from the hemp tree, which is a natural herb, is natural, it's from the earth, they are being deceived and are thus, once again, as Adam and Eve were, listening to the lies of the serpent. Remember, Genesis tells us that the serpent, a.k.a. Satan, was and still is the craftiest beast in the field. So don't think for a minute that Satan has changed his nature. He's just turned up. He's all the way turned up now. So I'm hoping that after today's lesson, those of you who think that it's still okay to take drugs, to smoke marijuana, to vaccinate your children, to misuse and abuse prescription drugs and painkillers, if those of you still think after today's lesson that it's okay to get drunk, if you still think after today's lesson that it's okay to participate in these types of acts, you are under the influence of demons and don't even know it. And I'm going to prove it. So in Genesis, in the beginning, Genesis 2, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 9, it reads, "And out of the ground made the Most High to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, and good for food. Every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, for eating. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." Going down to verses 16 and 17. "And the Most High Yah commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou shalt eat of it, thou shalt surely die." Genesis 3, 5 through 7. "For Yah doeth know that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons." Now, Adam and Eve had no knowledge of what evil was until they were seduced by the serpent, okay, a.k.a. Satan. And it says when they took of the fruit, their eyes were open. Meaning, and see, this is where they get that whole third eye. See, people messing around with that, what they call the chakra, you're not supposed to be messing around with that. Everything is not meant for us to know. It says in Scripture that the Most High has the right to conceal whatever he chooses to conceal from us. And the fallen spirits knew that. We were never supposed to know how to do evil. And once we did, and once we disobeyed him, then that's when the ground became cursed. It did not yield the fruit and the herbs in the same nature and the way that it did previously prior to the fall. So I'm going to read Genesis chapter 3, verses 17 and 18. It reads, "And to Adam he said, Because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it." He says, because you did that, you ate from the tree that I told you that you're not supposed to eat from. He said, because of that, he said, cursed is the ground because of you. He said, the ground is now cursed. He says, through painful toil, you will eat from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plant of the field. You will eat the plant of the field. He said the ground is going to be cursed. He said it's not even going to be the same anymore. So as you can see, after the fall of mankind in the Garden of Eden, the ground was cursed. So we can't possibly think that anything will ever grow, taste, or be as it originally was before this all took place. So those who smoke marijuana and like to use Genesis chapter 1 and 2 to do so, they are in great error, and they're in danger of being subtly possessed by unclean spirits, also known as demons. They're also in danger of being a part of the great PHARMAKEIA deception that the Most High speaks of in Revelations 18 and 23 as being the reason for the deception of the nations of this world. I'm going to read it. If you have your Bible, you can turn quickly because I'm moving fast. But it says in Revelations chapter 18, verses 23, it reads, "And the light of the candle shall shine, that's one of them words, shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by their sorceries were all nations deceived." So it says again that by their sorceries were all the nations deceived. This is in Revelation. The Most High is saying by their sorceries were the nations deceived. Now, Scripture commands that we be sober-minded. And when we're not sober-minded and when we're under the influence of drugs and or alcohol, our state of mind and our state of consciousness is altered, meaning we are not in our right mind. And when you're not in your right mind, you're making yourself available for an unclean or an evil spirit to enter into you and to take over. I saw a video clip of Beyonce stating how when she gets ready to perform that something just comes in and enters into her. And she said, I can feel it. She was putting her hands up and I feel it entering into me and it takes over. And this entity is a demon. And she called that demon's name Sasha, or Sasha Fierce. And so because of her beauty and because of her voice, she's able to lure and seduce men into lust and fornication. And this is what she's doing to this day. Her song Partition. Partition means to divide. That's what she comes to do. What does Satan come to do? To kill, steal, and destroy. A house divided against itself, he says it can't stand. So that's what she's come to do. So scriptures command that we be sober-minded for a reason. And I'm going to read a few scriptures quickly that tell us why. 1 Peter 5 and 8, it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks around seeking whom he may devour. So he's trying to devour you. So the Most High said you got to be sober. You got to be in your right mind. You got to be aware and awake. You can't be drunk and not knowing what's going on. You can't be, high on drugs. Titus 2 and 2. He says that the aged men be sober, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, which is love, and in patience. Titus 2 and 6 says, young men, likewise, exhort to be sober-minded. He said, exhort to be sober-minded. Titus 2 and 12, he says, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly. We should live soberly, rightly and godly in this present world. He's teaching us that we are to deny ungodliness and worldly lust, and we should live soberly in this present world. 1 Peter 4 and 7, but the end of all things is at hand. The kingdom of Yah is near. He says, therefore, be ye sober and watch unto prayer. He said the kingdom of Yah is near. The end of all things is near. He says, be sober. He didn't say go and be like Ned the wino, laying up against a brick wall, drunk, passing out, vomiting, throwing up all over the place, and high and stumbling all over the place and don't know where you're going, waking up, you fornicating and doing things. How many times have you heard people get drunk? They pass out and tell me, I don't even know what I did. They're not lying. I'm going to even read a scripture because I've heard people say when they get drunk or when they get high and they get drunk, and not only do they not know what they've done, but things have happened during the time that they was drunk that they can't take back. And we're going to read some accounts of that. Judah, who was the fourth son of our forefather Jacob, I'm going to read some accounts of some of the things that he said. They're going to be mind-blowing. 1 Peter 1:13, it says, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober. This is what it says. 1 Peter 1:13, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yeshua our Messiah. 1 Timothy 3:2. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior. You can't be a minister and you drunk all the time. You can't be a minister and you on drugs. He just told you in 1 Peter 1:13, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind and be sober. Ephesians 5:18, he says, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. We're supposed to be filled with the set-apart Spirit of the Most High, not drunk. It's not a sin to drink, but it is a sin to be drunk. If you drinking to the point you stumbling, you passing out, you don't kill somebody because you drinking and driving, then that's when it becomes a sin. You drunk and you don't know what you did the next day. You don't pass out. You can't drive home because now your somebody's friends or family got to drive you home because you too sick to drive or you too messed up to drive. You can't even walk. You stumbling. You slurring in your speech. Then what Judah's going to be telling us in one of his testaments that you a lot of times when you're drunk you speak the truth. They're not lying, and I'm going to read it to you in the scripture. They're not lying. Have you ever noticed when people get high and they get drunk, they act and say things that they normally wouldn't say, and they speak the truth to you, how they may really feel, or speak the truth about certain things that they normally wouldn't have the courage to do. It's because they're possessed at that time. There's a spirit that has entered into them, and they don't know it. That's why what's that song by Kendrick Lamar about getting drunk, sit down, drink, stand up, drink, just get drunk and about, why you babysitting 2 or 3 shots. I'm going to show you how to turn it up a notch. Then all they got to do is put a beat to it because it's got a banging beat. I ain't going to lie. When I first heard it, I'm like, ooh, but then I'm like, okay, I can't listen to this. Because he's talking about, swimming and dabbing in alcohol, getting drunk out your mind. Like, that ain't enough. You got to get drunk. You got to get toe up, drink. Sit down, drink. Stand up, drink. Pass out, drink. Just listening to this song, and the Most High says, do not be drunk with wine in excess, but be filled with the Spirit. What spirit are you being filled with when you're drunk? And we're going to reveal that. 1 Corinthians 15:34, it says, awake to righteousness and sin not, for some have not the knowledge of Yah. And he says, I speak this to your shame. So for anyone who have a problem with this lesson and anything that's being taught because you love to get drunk and you love to get high and smoke marijuana, 2 Timothy 3:16 reads, all scripture is given by inspiration of Yah, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and for instruction in righteousness. Again, why does the Most High command that we be sober-minded? The main reason is because of seduction, which leads to deception. He's already said that some of you in latter times shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits, doctrines of devils. And right now we're getting ready to read an example of this seduction that happened to Judah in the Testament of Judah, which is in the Apocrypha. Judah, again, is the fourth son of our forefather Jacob. He's going to tell of the former deceptions that he was under, and he's going to warn his children. We are from Judah, so-called African-American. He's going to warn us. And he warns his children about being sober-minded. And then he's going to reveal the 4 spirits that are unleashed when you are drunk. And you're going to know, and some of you going to be like, you know what, that's right. I remember Uncle Charlie at the family reunion passed out drunk, cursing out everybody. How many people, you know, when they get drunk, they got an angry spirit. Now they want to argue and fight with you because they drunk. It's no coincidence. It's a spirit that has taken over them. Some people say, oh, you know what, he's a nice person or she's a nice person, but when she get drunk, you know, she ain't the same person. So I'm getting ready to read the Testament of Judah. Again, it's in the Apocrypha. And I'm reading chapter 3. I'm going to be reading, I'll be going through reading specific verses, and I will let you know as I go along. So Judah, the Testament of Judah, verses 1 through 9 I'm going to read is going to give you Judah's account of what happened to him under the deception. Testament of Judah, I'm going to go ahead and start chapter 3, verses 1 through 9. He says, and Judah is speaking to his children now. And now I command you, my children, hearken to Judah your father, and keep my sayings, to perform all the ordinances of the Most High, and to obey the commands of Yah, and walk not after your lust, nor in the imaginations of your thoughts, in haughtiness of heart, and glory not in the deeds and the strength of your youth, for this is also evil in the eyes of the Most High. He says, since I also glorified that in wars no comely woman's face ever enticed me, and reproved Reuben, my brother, concerning Bilhah, the wife of my father. The spirits of jealousy and of fornication arrayed themselves against me, until I lay with Bathsheba the Canaanite and Tamar, who was espoused to my son. I don't know if you guys remember in that story, Tamar was espoused to Judah's son, and he slept with her, but she tricked him too. He says, for I said to my father-in-law, I will take counsel with my father, and so will I take my daughter. And he was unwilling, but he showed me a boundless store of gold in his daughter's behalf, for he was a king. And he adorned her with gold and pearls, and caused her to pour out wine for us at the feast with the beauty of women. And the wine, he said, turned aside my eyes, and pleasure blinded my heart. And I became enamored of, and I laid with her, and transgressed the commandments of the Most High and the commandments of my fathers. And I took her to wife. And the Most High rewarded me according to the imaginations of my heart, inasmuch as I had no joy in her children. We're going to continue reading with verses 10 through 17, where Judah is warning against being drunk because of what he did. And he says, and now, my children, I say unto you, be not drunk with wine, for wine turns the mind away from the truth and inspires the passion of lust. I'm going to read this again. He says, be not drunk with wine, for wine turns the mind away from the truth and inspires the passion of lust and leads the eyes into error. For the spirit of fornication has wine as a minister to give pleasure to the mind. So he says the spirit of fornication comes on you. Wine causes, when you're drunk, causes a spirit of fornication to come unto you and to minister to you, to give pleasure to your mind. He says, for these two also take away the mind of a man. For if a man drinks wine to drunkenness, he didn't say if you drink wine. He says, but if you drink wine to the point to drunkenness where you're drunk, he said, it disturbs the mind with filthy thoughts, leading to fornication, and heated the body to carnal union. And if the occasion of the lust be present, he works sin and is not ashamed. So he says, when you get drunk, it disturbs your mind, the way that you think. Next thing you know, he said your body's all hot, you're turned on, now you want to fornicate. And he says, lust therefore works in you. And then he said, you're going to go ahead and sin, fornicate. And he says, and then afterwards, because you're drunk, you're not even going to be ashamed about it. He says, my children, for he who is drunken reverence no man. For lo, it made me also to err, so that I was not ashamed of the multitude in the city, and that before the eyes of all I turned aside unto Tamar, and I brought a great sin, and I uncovered the covering of my son's shame. After I had drunk wine, I reverenced not the commandments of Yah, and I took a woman of Canaan to wife. For much discretion needs the man who drinks wine, my children. He says you need discretion when you're drinking. He said, herein is discretion in drinking wine. A man may drink so long as he preserves modesty. So he said you got to use discretion when you drink wine and drink in modesty. Some people, it takes them a little bit longer before they get drunk than others. Me, I'm going to tell you, 1 or 2 is fine for me. If I have more than that, I'm drunk. Some people, they have a higher tolerance when it comes to alcohol, and they may need 3 or 4. But that's why he said you use discretion. Some people, all I need is 1, and I'm fine. I can tell you the truth. 1 glass, and I'm fine. Maybe a glass and a half. If I drink more than 2, I know that I'm going to be drunk. But he says you got to use discretion when it comes to drinking wine. If you know that you cannot handle your alcohol, he said don't drink. Because he says you got to drink in modesty. So what may take one person to get drunk, it may not take another. Use discretion. He says, but if he goes beyond his limit, he says, then the spirit of deceit attacks his mind. So he's talking about the different spirits that come upon you when you get drunk. He said the spirit of deceit, if you get drunk, if you go beyond the limit, that's once again, know your limit. I may need 1 or 2 glasses to get drunk. Prina may need 1 and that's it. That means she don't need to drink 2. Maybe I can handle 2 or maybe she can't. But whatever the case, he says use discretion and drink in modesty. He says, but when you go beyond your limit, the spirit of deceit attacks your mind, and it makes the drunkard to talk filthily and to transgress and then to not be ashamed. So this is in the scriptures. So I know this has happened because I have been with someone who used to drink, used to be a drunkard, and drunk until he passed out drunk. Okay, I know people in my family who have drank till they passed out or got drunk. When they get drunk, I know friends, when they get drunk, then they want to fight. They want to start arguing. He says they start talking filthy. Then you start noticing the filthy things that come out of their mouth and all the profanity and how they talk when they get drunk. But then when they sober, they don't talk like that. It's like night and day. I knew a neighbor that used to live next door to my grandparents was the sweetest man when he was sober. But when a weekend came, he was drinking from Friday to Sunday, and I'm telling you, he was a different person. I didn't even recognize him at all. completely different, calling me names, calling people walking down the street, walking past his name, calling them all kind of names, calling them ugly, calling them monkey, whatever you could think of. He was calling you names. Why? Because this is what happens. The scriptures is telling you this is what happens. But the scriptures say that you transgress the commandments of Yah when you do this. And then it says, and you not even ashamed of it. He says that even to glory in his shame and to account himself honorable. So he said he counts himself as being honorable, acting this way. How many of you notice a person that get drunk and they are proud to be drunk? They're proud in their drunkenness. So continuing on with the Testament of Judah, chapter 3, I'm going to go down to verses 24 through 29, where the 4 evil spirits are going to be revealed. Judah is continuing. He says, observe therefore, my children, moderation in wine, for there are in it 4 evil spirits. The first one is the spirit of lust. The second one is the spirit of wrath or anger. The third one is the spirit of the spirit of riot. And the fourth one is filthy lucre. Okay? When you're rioting and the things that we've been seeing recently, know what spirit is at work. I'm glad that woman grabbed her son, because that's not a spirit that's of the Most High. So for all of our Hebrew Israelite brethren who called that woman a coon for pulling her son out, know that spirit of riot is not a spirit of the Most High. In Scripture, Judah, our forefather Judah says it's a spirit, it's an evil spirit. Rioting, wrath, which is intense anger, where it's causing you to do things that are not right. Filthy lucre. He says, if you drink wine in gladness, and I'm continuing to read on verses 24 through 29, he says, but if you drink wine in gladness with shamefacedness, with the fear of Yah, he said, you shall live. So it's okay to drink. You get a little happy. You all right. I drink me a glass of wine or two. I'm happy. I'm fine. It relaxes me. I'm good. He says, you're okay. He says, for if you drink not, he says, but if you drink not with shamefacedness and the fear of Yah departs from you, he said, that's when drunkenness comes in and shamelessness steals and comes in. He says, but even if you drink not at all, he said, take heed lest you sin in words of outrage, fighting, slander, and transgression of the commandments of Yah. So shall you perish before your time. So this goes back to what I was saying about the riot. And I want to kind of bring Prina in a little bit. I'm gonna Prina?
Yes.
Okay, you kind of heard what I just said. This is kind of going back to what I said about this woman, and a lot of our Hebrew Israelite brethren was calling this woman a coon for pulling her son. But the Most High says that even if you don't drink, he says, Judah said to take heed lest you sin in words of outrage, fighting, slander, and transgressing the commandments of Yah. He says, so shall you perish before your time. So a lot of our brethren were being shot and killed by the police and perishing before their time because they're out here rioting, and they got this wrath going on, all kind of things going on, and doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And he says, you're going to perish before your time, and you're going to suffer an early death. This woman could have possibly saved her son from perishing before his time because she pulled him out. And instead of them acknowledging that, they're calling her a coon and saying, okay, well, the Most High, the Willie Lynch letter during that time, the slave owners forced the mothers to beat their young sons so that the older ones would know not to rise up against the master, rise up against master. That all may be true. That's fine and dandy. But the thing is, you forget we can't rise. We ain't in our land. We can't rise up against nothing. We still have to follow the laws of the land. And going and rioting, this boy had a mask on, looking like a sniper. And you over here calling a mother a coon. I wish I would catch my son out in the middle of a riot with a mask on, a black wearing all black. You not out here doing nothing, no good. No, yes, I am going to pull you by your ear. Yes, I would beat you. I wouldn't care who was watching because I'm trying to save your life. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're looting and destroying a town in which they have to live.
Yeah, basically. So I just had to bring you in on that one. This lesson is going to reveal a lot of different things because it reveals a lot of the behavior that we've seen from family members and friends and why they're behaving this way, not even knowing that yet they had a spirit that was operating in them. But I'm going to go ahead and mute you back.
Okay.
So going back, continuing on reading. So he said that lest they die before or perish before their time. He says, moreover, he says, wine reveals the mysteries of Yah and men to aliens, even as I also revealed the commandments of Yah and the mysteries of Jacob, my father, to the Canaanitish Bathsheba, to whom Yah forbid to declare them. So he was not supposed to release and reveal the mysteries of our forefather to this Canaanite woman, but he did. So this goes into how when people say, when I was drunk, people say, oh, well, people speak the truth when they're drunk. They're not lying. He even ends it in verse 29 by saying wine also is the cause of war and confusion. So why do you think, and I'm saying this to my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters who think that this is okay. Why do you think that these fallen spirits are pushing? Why do you think they're pushing the use of marijuana? Why do you think they're pushing the use and the overuse of prescription drugs and painkillers? Why do you think they're pushing the use of drunkenness and the music that we're hearing is influencing our children to be drunks, to get what they say wasted? Why do you think this is being pushed? How can you actually believe that it's okay to do this and you see the wicked, evil spirit pushing something like this? That alone should tell you something is wrong with this. Yes, it is natural. Yes, it's from the earth. But the Most High said, I made this for food. This shall be food unto you. Judah says wine is a cause of war and confusion. That's why you're confused. Going on, continuing with the Testament of Judah, chapter 3, reading verses 46 through 50. He says, there are two spirits that await mankind. Judah says in verse 46, I know therefore, my children, that two spirits wait upon man, the spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. Again, he says that the two spirits that wait upon mankind is the spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. Who comes to deceive the whole world? Who does Revelation 12:9 say deceived? He didn't say he come to deceive. It said that Satan has deceived the whole world. Satan. Deceit. The spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. If you are in error, you are in deceit. You are being deceived. So he says in verse 46, I know therefore, my children, that two spirits wait upon the man, the spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. And in the midst is the spirit of understanding of the mind, to which it belongs to turn whithersoever it will. So the spirit of understanding of the mind is in between the spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. So it said in it, and it turns whatsoever it will. And it says, and the works of truth and the works of deceit are written upon the hearts of men, and each one of them the Most High knoweth. So it says, whether you work in the spirit of truth or you have the work in the spirit of deceit, it's already written on your heart, and the Most High already knows. And he says, and there is no time at which the works of men can be hidden, for on the heart itself have they been written down before the Most High. And the spirit of truth testifies all things and accuseth all, and the sinner is burnt up by his own heart and cannot raise his face to the judge. So let's talk about pharmacy. The pharmacy. You get sick, you got to go to the pharmacy to get your prescription, okay? Now, I'm not speaking against, there are times when we will have to get prescription or antibiotic from the doctor to be healed. But I still believe that we should do everything, especially as believers, with everything that we have within us, to be more diligent in studying and finding things that can cure things naturally without the use of drugs. Because all of these drugs have side effects. And in a moment, I'm going to have Prina come on for a minute and just briefly tell, kind of what happened to her mom. But all praises be to the Most High that he restored her. But we have to be careful of these drugs. Because at the end of the day, they are drugs. Pharmacy comes from the word pharmakeia. And pharmakeia is known as nothing but a modern-day sorcerer. So when doctors go to school, they have to take an oath. Now, I'm not getting ready to say all the things in the oath because I'm not swearing by no pagan God and it's on the set-apart day of our Father, but I'm just going to kind of tell you as best I can. In this oath, they have to swear by Apollo, the physician, and there are some other gods that are named gods and goddesses, and says that it basically is making them the witness that they will fulfill the judgment of this oath and the covenant that they're making. So this oath was made to, again, they swore to Apollo, the physician, and some other gods and goddesses. And if you don't know, the Apollo or Apollyon, Apollo or Apollyon, Apollyon, is Satan himself. And Apollo was a Greek and Roman god who is the son of Zeus, or Jesus, what many like to call Jesus. And so let's see what scripture, who does scripture identify Apollo, and also it's in Hebrew, Abaddon. In the Hebrew tongue, he's called Abaddon, Apollo or Abaddon, Abaddon. But Revelations 9 and 12 reads, Revelations 9 verse 11 reads, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name is in the Hebrew tongue Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue, his name is Apollyon. So we see this is in Revelation 9 and 11. Apollyon is known as Abaddon in the Hebrew tongue, and Hebrews 11, strong Hebrews 11, it lists Abaddon, which is the same thing as Apollyon, as a destroying angel. In the Greek, in 622, Apollyon is also known as the destroyer, and it has in parentheses, that is, a.k.a. Satan. So these doctors are making an oath with Satan, and I'm wondering if, if many of them even know that. Apollo or Apollyon or Abaddon in the Hebrew tongue is known as a god of medicine, is none other than Satan himself. And this is the oath that these doctors are making an oath with. They're pledging their allegiance to Satan, and he is who is behind this modern day medicine. And this is why the medicine of today is making us sicker and sicker and has so many side effects. more side effects than they've had back in the day. You notice, this is why we see an overabundance of commercials advertising drugs. These new so-called enhanced drugs are most likely concoctions that the fallen spirits themselves have put together, and they're behind. And as it says in Revelation 18:23, they're using their sorceries to deceive the whole world. And the Most High is saying in Revelation 18 that the sorcery is the whole reason. And sorcery is pharmakeia. Their drug sorceries is the reason. It's no coincidence that they're pushing this. This is the whole reason why the world is deceived. The drug sorceries. They're pushing the vaccinations. They're trying to vaccinate our kids like never before. They're trying to vaccinate us like never before. They create these diseases and say it's a disease. They sit in a lab and create it, and then they put it out there and try to spread something that they themselves made, and only they themselves have the potion or the so-called quote-unquote medicine to heal it. And then once you take that, now you got a billion other symptoms. And then you're going to need some medicine to combat the symptoms that's created from the medicine that they initially gave you to get rid of one thing, but now you got 15,000 other things wrong with you from the medicine. And Prina, I'm on unleashing you once again. Just briefly, you could quickly what happened with your mom as far as the medicine they gave her.
Okay, well, basically, my mom recently broke her ankle in 3 places, so they had to put pins and rods in it. But before then, her blood pressure was extremely high, and so they put her on 3 types of blood pressure medication to kind of get it under control before they can do the surgery. But when they put her on those 3 medications, she had a reaction to it where it actually caused her kidney levels to go extremely high, and so they called it acute renal failure. But once they flushed her out with, the saline solutions that they gave her and they took her off the medications, her kidney levels went back to normal. So at this point, they had to take her off mostly all of her meds except for 1. And so now her blood pressure is under control. However, it's not with all the other medication that was causing harm to her, because she was weak and she was lethargic, even though she didn't know. I thought she was having a stroke one morning, but she wasn't. It was actually she was passing out from her blood pressure dropping so low because she was going into what you call acute kidney failure.
And they give her medicine for one thing, and then it almost caused her to have kidney failure. And you have kidney failure, that causes a number of host of issues after that. So all praises be to the Most High for fully restoring her, and we were all praying for her, so I'm glad for that praise report. But, this is what I'm talking about. We don't understand, they're pushing these drugs on us now more than ever because, like I said, his time is up, and they want us to be deceived. They want our minds to be controlled, just like the movie They Live with Rowdy Piper.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of that black actor. If you have not seen that movie They Live with Rowdy Piper, it came out in the 80s. You need to watch it, because in that movie, all they wanted you to do was to watch TV, they want you to sleep. Stay asleep.
And they had those subliminal messages that.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, when the guy had the glasses, these special glasses, and he put them on, Roddy Piper, he was trying to wake up, people. He was trying to wake up that black guy who was an actual Hebrew Israelite. And what was he doing? Fighting against it, didn't want to know the truth, just like our people do today. Yeah. Didn't want the truth.
And when you put the glasses on, you can really see, like, what you thought, like what was in the magazines and, you know, the people that you thought were demons.
Obey.
Yeah, to obey, stay asleep, watch TV. This is why they want, you know, because they're putting so much garbage. They're putting spirits into that. They're putting spirits into the music. They're putting spirits in the magazine. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And we got to be on our game. We're supposed to be ready for the biggest fight of our life. And most of our people are just, as they said, sleep.
Yeah.
They sleep. So I'm going to put you back on mute, and I'm going to go back. But thank you for sharing that testimony, Ms. Draper. So, again, so who taught mankind the art of making drugs? Okay, if we look at Genesis chapter 6, I'm going to read verses 1 through 7. Let's see, Genesis chapter 6, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 7. Okay, Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 read, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of Yah saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Most High said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So he gave them 120 years to repent. Of course, they didn't. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, where the sons of Yah came in unto the daughters of men. The sons of Yah are the angels that the Most High, many of them like to call them the watchers. They were the angels, okay? And they were supposed to be watching over the daughters of men. They were supposed to be watching over mankind. But instead of them watching over them, they decided they wanted to sleep with them and have children. And that's how we get the giants. There were giants. Where do you think they came up with the jolly green giant? Where do you think they come up with all the hybrid characters like Superman and Spider-Man? These are supernatural beings having supernatural powers, angels and humans mixed together to create a superpower. This is where you get all your superheroes from. So verse 4, he says, there were giants in the earth in those days. So in the days of Noah, there were giants in the earth in those days. And it says also after that, and even after that, it says when the sons of Yah, which are the angels, came in unto the daughters of men and bore children with them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Now I'm going to go here to Genesis chapter 6 in my scriptures, because it says that they were mighty men, men of renown. You hear what they say? They were men of renown. I looked this up. Men of renown means celebrities. So some of you better be very careful of these people that you idolize, that you call celebrities, because many of these celebrities are probably fallen angels, fallen spirits, and you think that they're human, but they're not. But men of renown, renown means celebrities. It means monster. It means stars, superstars. See, we call them the stars. How many, the celebrity, they call them celebrities. They call them stars. They call them superstars. Renown means famed, well-known, esteemed, and famous. Also, it says the men, and in my Bible, the King James, my Bible, the Hebrew Roots Bible, it reads, the giants were in the earth in those days, and even afterwards, when the sons of Yah came into the daughters of men, they gave birth to them. He says, and they were heroes. Heroes. You see that? It says heroes who existed from ancient times, men of renown. So these said they were heroes. This, again, is where you get your superheroes, your Incredible Hulks, your Spider-Man, your Batman, your Robin, Superman. Men of heroes, I looked up heroes. Heroes mean celebrities, superstars, VIPs, immortal, idols, deity, a false god, a graven image, an icon, beloved. They were the gods or the deities who existed from very old. They were men of the stars. So this is why you see they call them the stars. So many of you better be very careful of the people that you idolize and worship. Because many of these, like I said, they were celebrities. And the Most High in verse 6, he says, I'm going back to verse 5, he says, and Yah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continuously. He said that everything that all men thought about was doing something evil continuously. And Yah said, it repented the Most High that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Most High said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. He was sorry that he made them because of all the things that were going on. So let's read the book of Enoch. And Enoch is referred to in the book of Jude, which is in one of the 66 books in the Bible. Enoch chapter 6, verses 1 through 8 reads, and it came to pass when the children of men, and it gives the same account of what we just read in Genesis, but it gives a more thorough explanation of what happened. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied in those days, were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And it says in verse 2, and the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them and said to one another, come, let us choose wives from among the children of men and beget children with them. So these angels, and it says there were 200 of them, these angels saw these women, and they call them the watchers. They were watching over, they were supposed to be watching over mankind and protecting us. But instead of watching us and protecting us, these angels, which they call the watchers, were looking down and they saw the women, okay? And they like, my, looky here. What do we have here? These women look good. Let me see what I want some of these women for myself. See, angels are not supposed to procreate and marry and have sex. So I'm going to continue reading and tell you what they did. So they said, let us choose wives from among the children of men and get children. And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear you will not indeed agree to do this. He said, I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. So Simjaza said, look, I don't want to do this because I'm the leader. And as just like when you the leader, if you the leader of a basketball team, you the coach, and the team fall behind, they lose the game, who do they fire first? They get rid of the coach. So he said, look, I ain't getting ready to take responsibility for this. He said, because I'm the leader and it's going to all fall on me. I'm not getting ready to pay the penalty for this sin by myself. So then in verse 4 it reads, and they all answered him and said, let us all swear an oath and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this. Then they swore they all together and bound themselves together by mutual imprecations upon it. And he says they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. So they all gathered on Mount Hermon. And they said they called it Mount Hermon because they all swore and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And then it lists all the names of the first. It lists Simjaza, and because he's the leader. And then it lists, I think it's about 18 or 20 of them. It lists all the angels, okay, the leaders. And these were the chiefs because there were 200 together, but there were only all of them weren't chiefs. 200 angels at first, but it lists the chiefs. And now, if any of you have ever seen Paramount Studios, just think about Mount Hermon. At the beginning, if you've seen any Paramount Studio movies that they've had, you see that in their symbol, when you watch a movie, like a lot of times you go to the movies and they show the previews on the movies and you see that mountain that's there, that's Mount Hermon. Paramount Studios. And then you see the mountain, and then you see 22. I don't know if it's 22. So whichever one, how many ever, I think it's 18. I haven't counted, 18 to 20. But you'll see stars fall from the sky, and these stars make a complete circle, if you notice, around the peak of this mountain, which is Mount Hermon. Now, these stars represent the chief leaders or the chief watchers who descended down onto this mountain and mutually agreed to sin against the Most High and took human wives and had children with them. And today, those children became known as the Nephilim, a.k.a. the giants. Okay, in Genesis chapter 6, not only the book of Enoch, people say, well, that's not in the Bible. Well, Jude references the book of Enoch, and the book of Enoch should have been in the Bible, but the Catholic Church took it out. But it says that these men, these chief angels, they all descended down onto Mount Hermon. So when you ever pay attention, the next time you see any movie at the beginning where you see that mountain and it's about Paramount Studios and they have stars, and I've seen this a billion times until I researched it, and they have the stars. They only have, like, I don't know, anywhere between 18 to 20, 21, 22. How many? Because I'm not getting ready to list the name of all these. I can't even pronounce the name of all of these angels. But each star represents one of those angels. You see that they make a complete circle around that mountain, which is Mount Hermon. And Paramount Studios, they're the ones that made the Avengers, and they're responsible for making most of the Fallen Angel movies. And it's a movie called The Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon, and that was a movie about the Fallen Angels too. And the Paramount Studios, the Avengers, I didn't really see that movie. I've seen some of it. I think I'm going to go back and probably watch it since I've been doing this study on it. But just the title alone, about a fallen angel, what do you think they're avenging? What is it that you really think that they're avenging? Maybe because their children were destroyed in the flood. So now they're coming after the sons of Jacob now more than ever. So let's go to another precept, which is in the book of Jubilees, which should also be in the 66 books as well, but they took that out. And this precept, the book of Jubilees, chapter 5, verse 1 through 8, gives the same account of this identical event that took place in Genesis chapter 6. So the book of Jubilees, chapter 5, verse 1 through 8 reads, "And it came to pass, when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, and the angels of Yah saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon. And they took themselves wives of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way alike. Men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walked on the earth, all of them corrupted their ways and their order." So it says the way, not only were their ways corrupted, but the order was corrupted. It said they began to devour each other, and lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of thought of all men, it says, thus was continually evil. This is the same thing that it says in Genesis chapter 6. That's why we know that this is true, and this is the reason why they took these books out, because it gives a greater account of what happened. Because Genesis is kind of bland and kind of surface, but Jubilees and Enoch goes thoroughly into what happened. Verse 3, and it says, "And Yah looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its order, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes." Verse 4, "And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth which he created. But Noah found grace before the eyes of the Most High, and against the angels whom he has sent upon the earth. He was exceedingly wroth," meaning angry, "and he gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion. And he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth, and behold, they are bound in the midst of them and are kept separate." So these demons, these angels, these fallen angels that sinned against the Most High and changed their natural estate from being spirit beings, because angels are spirit beings. They are not fleshly, but they changed their natural estate to come down and sleep with the women, and it talks about that in Jude. They changed their natural estate and slept with women, and they had children. And the Most High, it says, he was extremely wroth and angry with them. And these angels to this day, including Zaza, who was a leader, are still in the heart of the earth right now as we speak, still bound and waiting until the Most High release them. So we're going to continue on. Now we're going to reveal the biblical definition of what a demon or an unclean spirit is. A lot of people hear people talking about, oh, it's a demon, but they don't know what a demon is. But before I do that, 3rd Baruch, chapter 4 and 10 tells us that there were 409,000 giants that existed on the earth during the days of Noah. 409,000 giants. Can you imagine 409,000 giants probably standing like tallest buildings that existed on the earth during the days of Noah? So, what is a demon? Let's find out what a demon is. Book of Jubilees, chapter 5, verses 9 through 11. I'm going to continue on reading that, and then we're going to get into the definition of what a demon is. Jubilees, chapter 5, verse 9 through 11 reads, and he sent his sword in their midst, that each should slay his neighbor, and they began to slay each other, so they all fell by the sword and were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction. And after this, they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all who have corrupted their way and their ways before the Most High. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he judged, not according to his wickedness. So the definition of a demon we're going to find in Enoch chapter 15, verses 8 through 10. After the giants killed each other, the giants are the children of the fallen angels and mankind, okay? And when the angels came down and slept with the women, the spirit, when those they created giants, and when those died, the spirits that came forth from them became known as demons, aka evil spirits. And they became evil spirits in the earth. Demons are not fallen angels. I'm going to say this again. Demons are not fallen angels. They are the disembodied spirits of the children of mankind that were mixed with the angels who died. Okay? That's what a demon is. They're the disembodied, meaning they no longer have a body. Okay? They're spirits because they're part human and part angel. And when the angels slept with the human women, because the angels were big, humongous, the children were big, and they became giants. Now, because the Most High did not create them, they were not of the Most High's creation, and neither were dinosaurs. That's what we get dinosaurs, because it said it sinned against the birds. They were sleeping with everything that was moving. That's why we see bestiality. You know, bestiality just became a law now, where if you're in the army, you can sleep with an animal because you don't have a woman. You see all the kind of lawlessness that is now legalized, and you think because they legalized it that it's okay to do it? But that's where you get your dinosaurs and your T-Rex from. The Most High didn't create them. There was no Big Bang Theory that destroyed them, or a comet that destroyed them. They were destroyed in the flood, because he said that mankind was doing evil continuously. So when the women, the angels slept with the earthly women, when they got pregnant, they had giants. And when those giants died, because the Most High did not create them, they were wandering spirits. And these spirits are still here wandering now. And these are what you call demons. They're called evil spirits. So when people are saying, oh, I saw my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother came to me and talked to me. She can't. No, what you're seeing is they call them familiar spirits. These are disembodied spirits that were here since the flood, okay? They were here before the flood. So they know they've been here for thousands and thousands of years. They know you. They know your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-great-great-great-great. They know your first birthday. They know when your tooth fell out. They know when you had your first date. They know everything about you. So they're watching you constantly, even though you can't see them. So that's how they're able to tell you things about you and tell you things about your dad. And you think, oh, this woman's a psychic. Oh, she knows. She talking to my dad because my dad told me this. And your dad wants me to give you a message. This is a demonic spirit, and she's using divination. That's what divination is when you're getting information or revelation of information that is not coming from the set-apart spirit of the Most High. It is witchcraft and it's idolatry. And you will be burning in a lake of fire for dealing with witchcraft, dealing with astrologers. That's why we don't do the astrology. No, people know, well, what's your sign? Are you a pipe? No, I'm not any of those things because we weren't supposed to know how to do astrology because mankind uses them for wickedness. So we don't deal with astrologers. We don't deal with psychics. We don't deal with mediums. We don't go to magic shows. All of these things are witchcraft. And you will be in a lake of fire for practicing these types of things. But I'm going to read the definition so that you can see that I'm not just speaking off the top of my head. Enoch chapter 15, verses 8 through 10 read, and now the giants who are produced from the spirit and flesh shall be called evil spirits, demons upon the earth. And on the earth shall be their dwelling. I'm going to read this again. And the giants who are produced from spirits and flesh, meaning from angel and humankind, he says, the Most High says, shall be called evil spirits, demons upon the earth. And on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on the earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of the earth, which were born upon the earth, on the earth shall be their dwelling. So it says, the Most High said that they shall be called evil spirits, because he says he didn't create them. And he says the earth shall be their dwelling. So these demonic spirits are still on earth today because judgment upon mankind hasn't happened yet. They're roaming the earth. It says they're disembodied spirits, meaning once they die, they're spirits. And they're roaming the earth. They don't have anywhere to go. And I'm gonna read something even more telling. Because they still hunger and thirst. They're spirits that still desire to do the same thing. They still desire to eat. They still desire to have sex. They still desire to do all the things they did when they had a body, but they can't do it. So what do they need? They need a body to be able to act out all of these wicked acts that they used to do when they had a body. So they use you as a vessel. So that's why they're pushing these use of drugs. That's why they want you to get drunk. Because just as Judah told you, there are spirits that are put on you when you're drunk, when you're not sober-minded. You allow yourself to be used as a portal for a demonic spirit to be able to come and enter into you, and then they can start doing the wicked things that they were doing before. And that's why when they come in, you take a back seat. You're not in control, and you're doing things that you don't even remember that you did the next day. So Enoch chapter 15, verses 9 and 10 tells us the role of these demons on the earth. What are their roles? Verse 9 reads, and the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth. Verse 10, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless, they still hunger and thirst and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women because they have proceeded from them. So it says they're going to rise up against us because they proceeded against, because they came from us, because they're part human and part angel. He says they're going to rise up against us. He says these spirits are going to afflict us. They're going to oppress us. He said they're going to seek to destroy us. They're going to attack us. They're going to do battle. He said they're going to work destruction in the earth, and they're going to cause trouble. This is their role because they have been bound to the earth because they were born on the earth. But because the Most High didn't create them, he says earth is going to be their dwelling. And while they're here, the Most High told us what they're going to be doing. Enoch 16, verse 1 says, from the days of slaughter and destruction and the death of the giants, from the souls of whose flesh the spirits have gone forth, he says, they shall destroy without incurring judgment. He says, thus shall they destroy until the day of consummation. Until they are consummated, he says, until the great judgment in which the age shall be consummated over the watchers and the godless. He says, yea, shall be wholly consummated. He says, until the day that they are destroyed on the great day of judgment when our Mashiach returns, he says they are going to destroy until that time. People have slept on the scriptures. They slept on Satan. They slept on what the Most High has said that he's come to destroy, to kill, steal, and destroy. They have slept on the fact that they said that Satan has deceived the whole world. They don't believe it. So although we see that their physical bodies were destroyed in the flood, the spirits of these Nephilim, a.k.a. the giants, it says that they're going to would still live on and eventually rise up against mankind. And this is how we see mankind becoming possessed by demons today. And the majority of the world are worshiping these demon spirits, a.k.a. gods, a.k.a. celebrities, a.k.a. superheroes, a.k.a. stars, and don't even know it. Again, the fallen angels taught mankind the wicked practice of drug sorcery, such as the cutting of roots, marijuana, vaccinations, pharmakeia, witchcraft, which is going on today. In Enoch chapter 7, which again is referenced in Jude chapter 1, verse 14, it says, and all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go unto them and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms, enchantments, the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. What do you think they're talking about when it says that these angels made us acquainted with plants? Do you think they taught us how to put plants up together to make a bouquet for a wedding? Do you think they made us acquainted with plants and teaching us how to get out in the lawn and plant flowers? I doubt it. It says he taught them the cutting of roots and made them acquainted with plants. How many times, and I've seen it, have you seen family members and friends sit down and they cutting the plant open and they got the weeds and they got what they call the white paper that they roll the marijuana up and and I've seen them cutting the weed up, and this is what's called the cutting of roots. And then they rolling it up. Marijuana. Semyaza taught mankind, it tells you in Enoch chapter 7, how to make drugs, how to become acquainted with plants. Plants were meant for food. The Most High told you that in Genesis. He said, this shall be unto you for food, not to smoke and to get high. Because remember, at the fall of mankind, the ground was cursed. The natural herbs that people claim marijuana come from, you're not getting the same herbs. You're not getting the same roots now. They are lacing it with all kinds of foolishness that's causing people to hallucinate, jump off bridges, and commit suicide. because now they got a demon in them because they have been used as an open portal. We have the power to do good or evil, and Scripture tells us that we have a power and authority over demons. But this is only if you have his set-apart spirit in you. And Acts tells us that Yah gave his spirit to those who obey him. So if you don't have his set-apart spirit in you, it's because you're walking in disobedience and because you're not covered. And thus, if you're not covered, you have no authority over any unclean spirit, any evil spirit, which is also a demon. I'm going to read Luke chapter 10, verses 17 through 19, where the Messiah himself is telling us, those who obey him, those who follow him, that he's giving you authority over the demons. Luke chapter 10, 17 through 19 reads, the 70 returned with joy, saying, Master, even the demons are subject to us in your name. And he said to them, I was watching Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing will injure you. He said, nevertheless, do not rejoice in this. Don't rejoice in the fact that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are recorded in heaven. So the Most High, Yeshua is saying, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions. I've given you power over the enemy. He's given us authority and power over the enemy. He said nothing will hurt you. But many of you are willingly giving you the authority that the Mashiach has given to you. You're willingly giving your authority over these demons, these evil spirits, because you are allowing your body to be used as a vessel in which they can operate through. Remember, the Most High said that they still hunger, they still thirst, they still desire to cause trouble, to afflict, and to oppress us. So we cannot be ignorant of Satan's devices to use us. Stop smoking marijuana. Stop taking drugs, heroin, crack, cocaine. Stop getting drunk. Stop misusing and abusing prescription drugs and painkillers, because you're making yourself susceptible to demonic possession, and and some people are being over-emotional. When you see a person is over-emotional, always about drama, they got a spirit working in them. Remember, if you're not filled with the spirit of the set-apart spirit of the Most High, you're going to be filled with demonic spirit. And you have no authority over any demonic spirit or any evil spirit if you don't have his spirit. That's the only way anyone can become demonically possessed, if you don't have the Most High spirit, because the Most High is not going to dwell in any place that's unclean. So if anyone has ever been possessed, you don't have his spirit. Acts 19 and 13 shows us what happens if you don't have the spirit of the Most High Yah in you, and what gives you the authority that you have over demons. Acts 19 and 13, I'm going to read two different versions. The King James Version reads, then certain of the vagabond Jews, exorcists, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits the name of the Master Yeshua, saying, we adjure you by Yeshua whom Paul preaches. Now I'm going to read a different version, because the King's Hebraic roots as well as the New Living Translation give a better version, but you can really understand it. It says there were a group of Jews who were traveling from town to town casting out evil spirits. They tried to use the name of Yeshua HaMashiach in their incantation, saying, I command you in the name of Yeshua, whom Paul preaches, to come out. So these men, and these were seven, they said in verse 14 through 16, there were 7 sons of a Jew named Sceva, and they were going around trying to cast out evil spirits, which were demons, but they didn't have the authority like Paul did, because, see, Paul was filled. It says that we command you in the name of Yeshua, who Paul preaches. They didn't say, like when I have cast out demons before, when I go and I do spiritual warfare prayer, I'm speaking in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. I don't say in the name of who Paul preaches or in the name of who Jerry preaches, because I know that I have the authority and the power in me to be able to call a demon out of a person. But these men did not. And guess who knew that they did not have the set-apart spirit of Yah in them? The demons themselves. The demons themselves knew. And it says in verse 14 through 16, it says, and the evil spirit answered. Because, see, these Jews, they were coming around saying, look, we command you in the name of Yeshua, whom Paul preaches, to come out. And the evil spirit, I guess they looked and said, He said the evil spirit answered these men and said, Yeshua, I know. Paul, I know. But they said, who are you? And it says, and the man whom the evil spirit was leaped on to them, it says the evil spirit leaped on them, overcame them, prevailed against them, and it says that these men fled out of the house, butt naked and wounded. So you can't fool an evil spirit. If you do not have the spirit of the Most High, don't go around trying to lay hands on somebody and commanding a spirit to come out in the name of Yeshua, because they know if you have the spirit of the Most High in you, and if you don't have the spirit of the Most High and you going around trying to lay hands on somebody, them demons are going to come behind you and whoop your behind because you are not covered. I want to end this quickly. The medical symbol. I just want to make note, the medical symbol that most people see in the pharmacy, the medical symbol that you see has the serpent around the stick. I don't know if you noticed that. It tells us that in Matthew 24, just as in the days of Noah, so shall it be. Also, when the coming of the Son of Man, Apollo, again, who is also a bad, a.k.a. is Satan. He's known as the god of medicine. And Satan, we know in the garden, he was represented as the serpent. And so in the medical symbol, I don't know if you noticed, if you look at the next time, if you get like a bag from the pharmacy, notice that there's a rod and there's a snake wrapped around it. Know that, remember this lesson that was taught and where that comes from. Who is the God of medicine, who these men have taken an oath to. Pharmacy, which is also known as pharmakeia, is drug sorcery. And the word pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmakeia, which means sorcery and witchcraft. And sorcerers and witches use drugs and magic to seduce and control the masses. So basically, in a nutshell, drugs, poison, vaccines, they're killing us. And they're altering our state of consciousness, our state of mind, which the Most High forbids for us. In Revelations 9, 20 and 21, it reads, and the rest of men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not, meaning they did not repent of the works of their hands, that they would not worship devils and the idols of gold and silver and brass and stone of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. He said, neither did they repent of their murders, nor did they repent of their sorceries, drug sorceries. Drug sorceries is the same thing as pharmacy, pharmakeia. Okay? The Most High says, if you look in the Greek 5331, pharmakeia means medicine. Pharmacy is what it has written in the middle. It also says, by extension, magic, and it also has sorcery and witchcraft. So why is it that they don't have that in here? They don't have pharmacy. Why don't they just put sorcery and witchcraft on the bag? Because that's basically what it is. The words pharmacy and pharmaceutical are derived again from pharmakeia in Strong's 5331. And you can find this, this word is also found in the Bible in Galatians 5, 19 through 21, it reads, now the deeds of the flesh are evident, which are immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery. Again, sorcery, we just got finished reading from you, is pharmakeia, is pharmacy, and it's magic. This is what the Most High says. These are deeds of the flesh. Okay, and no flesh, he says, will inherit the kingdom. If you continue reading on, it goes into enmity, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, dissension, envying, drunkenness is on here. He says, which I have forewarned you, just as I have forewarned you. He said that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom. So someone who's saying that you can still get in the kingdom and you smoking marijuana, you better tell them to listen to this show, because you will not. It's pharmakeia, which is same thing as witchcraft and sorcery. If somebody and it also talks about being drunk. You're not getting in, so stop getting wasted now and repent, because the kingdom of Yah is at hand. Revelations 18:23 reads again. He says, for your merchants were the great men of the earth. He says, because all the nations were deceived by your sorcery. All the nations have been deceived, the Most High says, by your pharmakeia, by your drugs, by your witchcraft. Okay? So I hope that through this lesson that you have gained a higher level of understanding of why Bible versions translate the words that we associate with drugs into words like sorcery. When people see sorcery and witchcraft, they don't think about drugs. They don't think about pharmakeia. But it is. And the Most High wants us to know, this is, he says in 2 Corinthians, so that no advantage will be taken of us by Satan. He says, so we are not ignorant of his devices. Don't be ignorant. I'm surprised that many of our Hebrew Israelite brethren went around actually trying to support the use of taking drugs because you saying the Most High is natural to earth. He didn't give it to you to smoke. Remember, this was taught to us by Shemzaza. He's the one that, the fallen angel that taught us how to cast spells and how to cut roots and how to become acquainted with plants, which is pharmakeia. The pharmakeia card was played in the garden when the serpent seduced Eve. It was played after the flood when Noah was taken advantage of when he was drunk. Remember, his daughters got him drunk. It was played when Ham seized the opportunity to procreate with Noah's wife, and he brought forth the giant Canaanites. The pharmakeia card is being played right now. How many of you know about the date rape drug? They gotta get your mind out of a state of consciousness, so they get you laid out and you don't know what's going on. So they gotta slip you a date rape drug, and then you get raped and you don't even know what happened. Remember, nothing new is under the sun. And Revelations 18:23 testifies, saying that the same pharmakeia card is being played today. And as he says, it's the reason why the whole nation, he said, through his sorceries, which is pharmakeia, which is drugs, is being deceived. One more thing before I go. The RX symbol, you also see, not only do we see the medical symbol with the rod with the snake, but you I don't know if you noticed the symbol with the R and the X going across it. This is a symbol also they like to use that's associated with prescriptions that most people recognize as the prescription symbol, but it's actually the Eye of Horus. And it's also known as the goddess Jupiter. And many that's in the healthcare environment, they're aware that this is a medical practice that the Greek gods practiced during that time. And something else that I noticed during my research, it says that this RX symbol has another interpretation that provides an interesting perspective, as the RX is an abbreviation for the Latin word recipe, which means take thou. Okay, so this is where we get the word recipe. It means to take thou. And it says this is an expression of a command to receive the drug or the spell that is being offered. So this is a recipe, meaning take thou. So when you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol, vaccination, and the misuse of painkillers and even prescription drugs, they and Priya, I'm going to bring you in, Prina, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hello, Prina.
Yes.
When you're under these influences of drugs, they change the way that you think. They change the way that you act. You don't feel the same. When I was in the hospital at the time and I had my hysterectomy and they tried to give me some, what did I tell you they gave me?
Morphine.
Morphine. I'm like, morphine, what is this? I'm like, feel like I'm slow. I said, take me off of this. Well, you going to be in pain. I said, I will deal with it. Give me some extra strength Tylenol. I am not getting ready to take any morphine. I am not getting ready. It affected the way that I was feeling. And when you take these drugs, it does. I mean, look how it made your mom respond when you say you never seen your mother like that before.
Yeah.
It affects your responses. It affects your reaction to things. And, you know, it might temporarily make you better, but the long-lasting effects, and even from what my research, I'm seeing that these drugs, and even along with vaccinations, they're trying to rewrite our DNA, which changes us into a different us. And the Most High, remember, he said in Leviticus 17 that life of the flesh is in the blood. So when you continue to take all of these medicines and vaccinations, then you got new life. They're putting new life, a life that the Most High didn't put. Now your blood is subject to pharmakeia's effects. And it's going to directly impact us because it's going to directly impact the way that we think, the way that we act. And remember, and when I was reading the Testament of Judah, he told us that pharmakeia, it provides a smokescreen that causes mental confusion. And it causes your inability. Remember, he said that, you know, you got to be able to, it affects your ability to be able to discern the truth.
Yeah.
And this is what he said. He said it affects your ability to discern what is true. It makes it difficult, and sometimes for some people, depending on how much you're using, it makes it impossible for you to be able to recognize and filter out lies. Yeah. So even though it may temporarily seem as if it's making you better, the drug itself increases your susceptibility to demonic influence, if not being influenced, being fully possessed. And then, which is going to lead to long-term, and like a lot of these drugs, they lead to long-term unpleasant side effects. And demonic possession and demonic influence and spells is just a part of it. And I'm going to end with this last scripture. We know in the end there's going to be two resurrections. The first resurrection is for the ones that make it into the kingdom. And the second resurrection, you don't want to take part in that because that's for those who are going into the lake of fire. It's judgment, as you said. Revelations 20 and 6 said, blessed and set apart is the one having part in the first resurrection. The second death possesses no authority over these, but they shall be priests of Yah and our Messiah and shall reign with him 1,000 years. But as for the cowardly and the untrustworthy and the abominable and the murderers and those who whore and drug sorcerers and idolaters and all the false, their part is in a lake which burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. So who wants to take part in that? Yeah. I know I don't. I know there's not a tree out here that can get me hot enough to make me want to be in a lake of fire. Yeah. So I'm going to end with that. Any comments on today's lesson? If anybody have any questions, because we're at the end of this, I'm putting you in the queue. Or comments about today's show, you please do so now because we're going to be ending. Prina, but what are your thoughts about today? Anything that you learned today? Any enlightenment? Any comments?
Well, I just want to say, I was very enlightened by your lesson. We think that just because it's from a plant that we can ingest it any way we want to, smoke it, But again, we have to still remember that if it's causing you to not be sober and you're not in your right mind, and you're not operating in the Most High and His Spirit, and His Spirit is not in you. I just want to also say that, a lot of times, people like to dibble and dabble also in designer drugs, street drugs, such as cocaine, and they got the new Flocka, and they got the Buddier, and the bath salts, and they're making our people.
Yeah, they got all kind of things where kids are actually dying.
They eating people's faces and doing crazy stuff, So we have to be careful what we get ourselves into. Just because it's recreational and it's ready available onto you on the streets, that don't mean you have to take it, And if you're around those kind of people, then you need to remove yourself from those kind of people, because wickedness, no matter how way you cut it, it's abominable before the Most High Yah. So basically, that's all I wanted to say. But it was very thorough. I learned new about the symbols of, especially the RX. I didn't know that about the eyes of Horus and Jupiter. Yeah. So that was very enlightening. I saw the symbol, with the snakes around it. I've paid attention to that, but again, these drugs out here, I had cancer, so I know, when I had my treatment with chemo, you sign a waiver for the drug. It actually said it can cause another kind of cancer.
Yeah.
And at the time I wasn't in truth, and but I still took the drug, but it was a risk that I took, you know what I'm saying, because at the time I didn't, know much, and I was seeking to be healed, and I was seeking to just changing my life, but as you grow in this word, we have to, at the end of the day, examine everything thoroughly. Everything should be under a microscope, what we do. The foods we eat, the medicines we take, the music we listen to, the movies we watch, everything should be under a microscope. I know you can't run and hide from everything, because they hide stuff in medicine, like when my mother was in the hospital and they had to give her heparin, found out that was pork-based. That was pork.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the medicines that they have out here that's supposed to be curing us is actually making us abominable.
Yeah, and that's why we just have to just pray and just ask the Most High, because we try to do all that we can. He knows, and I'm not saying He knows my heart, but He truly does know those who are sincerely seeking to obey His every word, and He knows that Satan is crafty, and they're doing everything that they can to corrupt everything so that we will have no way of truly serving Him. But with all that I do have in me, I will continue to serve Him.
Yes.
So with that being said, we have no callers today, but it was a great show, and we're going to have you lead us out with some Chronicles.
Okay. So this is, again, First Chronicle, and David is blessing Yah before the congregation. And it's First Chronicles 29, verse 10 through 13, and verse 18. And David blessed Yah before the eyes of all the congregation. And David said, Blessed are you, O Yah, the power of Israel, our Father, forever and ever. To you, O Yah, be the greatness and the power and the high esteem and the victory and the majesty, for all in the heavens and in the earth belongs to you. O Yah, yours is the kingdom, and you lift up yourself to all as head. And the riches and honor come from before you, and you rule over all. And in your hand is power and might, and in your hand is to make great and to give strength to all. And now, our power, we are giving thanks to you and giving praise to your high esteemed name. O Yah, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, our fathers, keep this forever in the tent of the thoughts of the heart of your people, and prepare their heart toward you. In Yeshua's name, so be it.
Okay, Yeshua's name. So we want to thank all our listeners who joined us today, who stayed with us. I know today's show was a little bit longer. Actually, it was our longest show ever, 2 hours, totaling 2 hours and 14 minutes. But this is a lesson that I pray that will get out. Please share it with any family members and friends you know that are drunk, getting drunk, using drugs, because it is drug sorcery. Again, this is the Sword of the Spirit audio biblical broadcast show. We broadcast live every Sabbath, which is every Saturday from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, Yah willing, we see you again on next Shabbat. We just say Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.